The survey vessel Starfall came out of faster-than-light travel near the planet. Meridian 7. Commander Lara Bennett stood on the bridge and looked at the main screen. Something was wrong. The planet should have been blue and green. It should have been alive with radio signals and ship traffic. Instead, the world before her was gray and brown, and there was nothing but silence. "Try the communication channels again," Lavra said to her crew. Lieutenant Jacob Mills worked at his station. His fingers moved across the controls. He tried every frequency. He sent emergency signals. He called out to any ship or station that might be listening. But there was no answer. Only static filled the speakers. "Nothing, Commander," Jacob said. His voice was quiet. "There is no response on any channel." Lavra felt a cold feeling in her stomach. Meridian 7 was home to 12 million people. It was a farming colony, a peaceful place where families had come to build new lives. There were cities and towns. There were schools filled with children. There were hospitals and markets and parks where people walked in the evening sun. "Take us closer," Lavra ordered. "I want full sensor scans of the surface." The Starfall moved toward the planet. As they got closer, the sensors began to give them information. But the information made no sense. Lavra read the data on her screen, and she felt her heart stop. "This cannot be right," she whispered. The atmosphere was wrong. The oxygen levels were almost zero. The surface temperature was too high, and the readings showed that most of the ground below them was made of glass. Melted burned glass where cities had once stood. "Commander," said Ensign Katie Palmer from her station. Her voice was shaking. "I am detecting no life signs. No human life. No animal life. Nothing." Lavra gripped the armrest of her chair. Her knuckles turned white. "Launch a probe." "I need visual confirmation." They sent a probe down through the dead atmosphere. The images it sent back would haunt Lavra Bennett for the rest of her life. The capital city of New Haven was gone. Where 2 million people had lived and worked and loved, there was now only a crater filled with cooling rock. The probe flew over what had been farmland. The fields were burned black. The probe found what was left of a school. The building was gone. The children were gone. Everything was gone. "Planet crackers," said Lieutenant Commander Sam Fletcher. He was the weapons officer, and he knew what these wounds looked like. Someone used planet-cracking weapons on a civilian world. Planet crackers were the most terrible weapons in the galaxy. They were bombs that could break continents and boil oceans. They were banned by every civilized species. No one had used them in over 1,000 years, until now. "Who did this?" Lavra asked. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Sam worked at his station. He analyzed the radiation signatures. He looked at the patterns of destruction. His face grew pale as he found his answer. "The energy signature matches Dreven weapons," he said. "The Dreven hegemony did this." The Dreven were an old species. They had ruled their part of the galaxy for 10,000 years. They looked down on humans as young and weak. They had never liked that humanity had spread so far so fast. But no one had expected this. No one had expected murder on this scale. Lara stood up from her chair. She walked to the main screen and looked at the dead world. 12 million people. Men and women. Old people and children. Families who had done nothing wrong. They had simply existed, and for that crime, they had been burned away. "Katie," Lavra said, "open a channel to Earth. Maximum priority. Full encryption." "Channel open, Commander." Lavra took a deep breath. She had to find the words to explain what she was seeing. She had to tell humanity that 12 million of their brothers and sisters were dead. "This is Commander Lara Bennett of the survey vessel Starfall. I am in orbit above Meridian 7. The colony has been completely destroyed. There are no survivors. I repeat, there are no survivors. Evidence shows that driven forces use planet-cracking weapons on a civilian target. 12 million human beings are dead. She paused. Tears were running down her face now, but her voice stayed steady. They did not just kill our people. They tried to erase them. They burned away everything. Every home. Every memory. Every trace of human life on this world. This was not war. This was extermination. Lavra ended the transmission. The bridge was silent. Her crew members were crying. Some of them were praying. Others just stared at the dead planet, trying to understand how anyone could do something so evil. On Earth, it was the middle of the night when the message arrived. Admiral Nathan Cole was sleeping when his personal communicator woke him. He listened to the message once, then twice, then 3 times. He got out of bed and walked to his window. Outside, the city was peaceful. People were sleeping. They had no idea what had happened. They did not know that the universe had changed forever. Nathan Cole had served in the fleet for 40 years. He had seen battles and tragedies. He had lost friends and ships. But he had never felt what he felt now. It was not just anger. It was something deeper. Something cold and old that he did not know lived inside him. He picked up his communicator and made a call. "This is Admiral Cole," he said. "I am issuing Protocol Omega. Wake the fleets. All of them. Every ship. Every station. Every man and woman who can hold a weapon. Wake them all." There was a pause on the other end. Protocol Omega had never been used. It was the total mobilization of humanity for war. "Sir," said the voice on the other end. "Are you certain?" Nathan looked out at the peaceful city. He thought about the children who had died on Meridian 7. He thought about the mothers who had tried to protect them. He thought about the fathers who had watched their families burn. "They killed 12 million of us," Nathan said. "They thought we were weak. They thought we would do nothing. They are about to learn how wrong they were." He ended the call. Across the planet, military bases came alive. Messages went out at faster than light speeds. On 100 worlds, on 1,000 ships, human beings received the news. And they answered the call. The Dreven hegemony had wanted to send a message. They had wanted to show humanity that they were nothing, that they could be erased. Instead, they had awakened something. Something that would cross the stars to find them. Something that would not stop until justice was done. The war had begun. The message spread across human space like fire through dry grass. It reached the core worlds first: Earth, Mars, the stations around Jupiter and Saturn. Within 1 hour, every major military base knew what had happened to Meridian-7. Then the message went further. It traveled at faster than light speeds to the colony worlds, to the mining stations in the asteroid belts of distant stars, to the research outposts on the edge of explored space, to the cargo ships making long runs between systems. And everywhere the message went, the reaction was the same. Captain Daniel Harris was commanding the heavy cruiser Retribution when he received the news. His ship was on patrol near a small colony called Greenwater. He was in his quarters, reading a book, when his first officer called him to the bridge. Lieutenant Commander Grace Taylor was waiting for him. Her face was pale and her eyes were red. She handed him a datapad without saying a word. Daniel read the message. He read it again. Then he sat down in his command chair and stared at the main screen for a long time. 12 million, he said finally. They killed 12 million people. Yes, sir, Grace said. The orders are clear. Protocol Omega. We are to proceed to the rally point near Neptune at maximum speed. Daniel nodded slowly. He had served in the fleet for 25 years. He had trained for war his entire adult life. But he had never thought he would see this day. He had never thought anyone would be stupid enough to attack humanity like this. Set course for Neptune, he said. Maximum speed. Tell the crew what has happened. Tell them we are going to war. The Retribution turned toward Earth and began its long journey home. And it was not alone. From every corner of human space, ships began to move. Battleships and cruisers from the core defense fleets. Destroyers and frigates from the colonial guard. Armed freighters and converted passenger ships. Mining vessels with weapons welded to their hulls. Science ships that had never fired a shot in anger. They all came. Admiral Nathan Cole stood in the command center on Earth and watched his tactical display. Every few minutes, new signals appeared as more ships arrived at the rally point. The numbers grew and grew. 20,000 ships, reported his aide, Commander Lisa Monroe. 30,000. 40,000. Nathan said nothing. He just watched. 50,000. 60,000. Sir, this is more than we have ever gathered in one place. It is not enough, Nathan said. Not yet. Keep counting. The ships kept coming. Old veterans came out of retirement and demanded places on any vessel that would take them. Young people who had never served volunteered by the millions. Factories that had not built weapons in decades began working around the clock. Shipyards that had been making cargo ships started making warships instead. The entire species was waking up. And it was angry. On the planet Dreven, the rulers of the hegemony watched the human response with amusement. They sat in their great hall, surrounded by treasures taken from 100 conquered worlds. They had ruled this part of the galaxy for 10,000 years. They had crushed species far older and stronger than these young humans. High Commander Vorath was the leader of the Dreven military. He was old and scarred from many battles. He had ordered the attack on Meridian 7 himself. The humans are gathering their ships, said one of his advisors. Our scouts report large numbers moving toward their home system. Vorath made a sound that was like laughter. Let them gather. Let them come. They are children playing at war. We have been fighting since before their species learned to make fire. Their fleet is growing large, the advisor said carefully. Perhaps we should reinforce our 4 bases. Their numbers mean nothing, Vorath said. They have no experience. They have no discipline. They will break at the first sight of our battle fleet. And then we will burn their other colonies. We will burn their home world. We will end this species once and for all. The other Dreven lords nodded and made sounds of agreement. They had always known that war with the humans would come someday. It was better to start it now, while humanity was still young and weak. In another century, they might have been a real threat. Back at the rally point near Neptune, the human fleet continued to grow. Captain Daniel Harris brought the Retribution into formation with the other ships. He looked at his tactical display and felt his breath catch in his throat. He had never seen so many ships. He had never imagined so many ships. 200,000, Grace said quietly. 250,000. Sir, ships are still arriving. How is this possible? Daniel asked. We did not have this many ships in the active fleet. They are coming from everywhere, Grace said. Reserve fleets. Mothballed ships. Civilian vessels that have been armed. Colony defense forces. Private ships. Everything that can fly and fight is coming. Daniel watched as more and more signals appeared on his display. Each signal was a ship. Each ship was filled with people who had heard about Meridian 7 and decided to answer the call. People who might never have joined the military. People who might have lived peaceful lives forever. But not now. Not after what the Dreven had done. 300,000, Grace said. Her voice was shaking now. Sir, we have 300,000 ships. The number was impossible. It was more than any fleet in the history of the galaxy. It was more than most species could build in 1,000 years. But here it was, 300,000 ships, all gathered for one purpose. Admiral Nathan Cole appeared on every screen in every ship. He was standing on the bridge of the carrier Avalon, the flagship of the human fleet. His face was calm, but his eyes were hard. "Men and women of humanity," he said, "you know why we are here. You know what was done to our brothers and sisters on Meridian 7. 12 million innocent people erased from existence. Children burned in their schools. Families destroyed in their homes. A crime so terrible that words cannot describe it." He paused and looked directly at the camera. "The Dreven think we are weak. They think we will cry and do nothing. They think they can murder our people and face no consequences. They are wrong. They have made the greatest mistake in the history of their species. They have given us a reason to fight together. They have united humanity in a way that nothing else ever could." Nathan raised his hand and pointed forward. 300,000 ships, 300,000 crews, millions of men and women ready to fight, ready to die if necessary, but more importantly, ready to win. We are going to find the ones who did this. We are going to make sure they can never do it again. And we are going to show every species in this galaxy what happens when you harm humanity. He lowered his hand. "All ships, prepare for faster-than-light travel. We are going to war. And we are not coming back until justice is done." The fleet began to move. 300,000 ships turned toward Dreven space. 300,000 engines began to warm up for the jump, and somewhere in the galaxy, in their great hall surrounded by their treasures, the Dreven rulers would soon realize that they had made a terrible mistake. They had thought they were killing a weak species. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. The storm was coming, and it would not stop until the reckoning was complete. The Dreven forward base at Korath Station had stood for 3,000 years. It was built into a massive asteroid, deep in Dreven territory. Its walls were thick enough to stop any weapon. Its shields were the strongest in the known galaxy. 17 battlecruisers guarded it, along with hundreds of smaller ships and orbital platforms. No enemy had ever come close to taking it. Commander Tarak was in charge of the station's defense. He was young for a Dreven officer, only 400 years old. He had heard the reports about the human fleet. He had laughed at them like everyone else. 300,000 ships, he said to his officers. Most of them are cargo vessels with guns attached. Our battlecruisers will destroy them by the thousands. His officers agreed. They had fought many wars. They had crushed many enemies. The humans would be no different. The first sign that something was wrong came when the fail-leave of the long-range sensors detected the human fleet entering the system. Tarak looked at the readings and felt something he had not felt in a very long time. Fear. "That cannot be right," he said. "Check the sensors again." The readings were correct. The human fleet filled the entire sensor display. There were so many ships that they looked like a cloud of metal moving through space. And they were coming fast. "All ships, battle stations," Tarak ordered. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. "Raise all shields. Power all weapons. Send a message to High Command. Tell them the humans are here." The message would never arrive in time. Admiral Nathan Cole stood on the bridge of the Avalon and looked at the enemy base. It was impressive. The Dreven had built well. Their shields glowed with power. Their weapons pointed toward the approaching human fleet. "Analysis complete," reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Kevin Brooks. 17 battlecruisers, 240 support ships, 12 orbital weapons platforms. "And the station itself, what are our losses expected to be?" Nathan asked. Kevin paused. He checked his calculations again. "Sir, based on the simulation, We should take the station with minimal losses. The enemy is outnumbered more than 1,000 to 1. Nathan nodded slowly. He had known the numbers, but hearing them said out loud made them real. All ships, this is Admiral Cole. Begin the attack. First wave, target the orbital platforms. Second wave, engage the enemy fleet. Third wave, prepare to assault the station. Remember Meridian 7. Remember the 12,300,000 voices answered him across the communication channels. And then the battle began. The Dreven had never faced anything like this. Their shields were the strongest in the galaxy, but they were not designed to stop fire from 1,000 ships at once. The first orbital platform lasted 4 seconds. Its shields flashed bright blue, then bright white, then collapsed entirely. A moment later, the platform itself exploded. The second platform lasted 3 seconds. The third lasted 2. Commander Tarak watched in horror as his defenses were torn apart. All battlecruisers forward. Target the largest human ships. His 17 battlecruisers moved to attack. They were huge vessels, each one as big as a small moon. Their weapons had destroyed entire fleets. Their crews were veterans of 100 wars. The human cruiser Retribution was one of the first to engage them. Captain Daniel Harris watched the lead Dreven battlecruiser come toward his ship. It was 10 times bigger than the Retribution. Its weapons glowed with power. Target their shield generators, Daniel ordered. Coordinate fire with the ships around us. On my mark, Lieutenant Commander Grace Taylor worked her console. All ships in formation are ready, sir. Firing solution locked. Fire. 20 human ships fired at the same moment. 20 beams of concentrated energy hit the exact same spot on the battlecruiser's shields. The shields held for half a second. Then they collapsed. The battlecruiser had no protection now. Its thick armor meant nothing against the weapons that followed. Missiles and plasma bursts tore through the hull. The ship broke apart in a ball of fire. 1 down, Grace said. 16 to go. The battle lasted 4 hours. But the outcome was never in doubt. The Dreven fought hard. Their ships were powerful and their crews were experienced. But they were facing something they had never seen before. 300,000 ships, all working together. All coordinated. All focused on the same goal. Lieutenant Amy Patterson led her fighter squadron through the heart of the enemy formation. She had lost her brother on Meridian 7, his wife, their 2 children. She had cried for 3 days when she heard the news. Now she was not crying. Target those weapons platforms, she ordered her squadron. Follow me in. Her small fighter dove toward the station. Enemy fire filled the space around her. Ships exploded on all sides. But she kept going. She had seen pictures of her brother's children. Lily was 7. Marcus was 5. They had been in school when the planet crackers fell. They had probably been scared. They had probably called for their parents. Amy fired her weapons into the heart of the enemy platform. She watched it explode and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. Platform destroyed, she reported. Moving to next target. By the end of the 4th hour, it was over. All 17 Dreven battlecruisers were destroyed. All the orbital platforms were gone. The support ships had either been destroyed or had surrendered. Only the station remained. Commander Tarak stood on his bridge and watched the human fleet surround his base. His shields were failing. His weapons were damaged. Most of his crew was dead or wounded. Send a message to the humans, he ordered. Tell them we surrender. Ask for terms. The message went out. The response came quickly. Admiral Nathan Cole's face appeared on the screen. His eyes were cold and hard. You want terms? He said. The Dreven did not give terms to the people of Meridian 7. They did not let the children surrender. They did not let the families negotiate. Tarak felt true fear now. We were following orders. The attack on the colony was not my decision. I know, Nathan said. But you are part of the machine that killed our people. And that machine is going to be destroyed. What do you want from us? Nathan leaned forward. I want you to send a message to your high command. Tell them what you saw today. Tell them that their greatest fortress fell in 4 hours. Tell them that we are coming. And tell them that we will not stop until every last weapon in the Dreven hegemony is destroyed. He paused and his voice became even colder. You have 1 hour to evacuate your station. Take your wounded. Take your survivors. We will not fire on escape pods. But in 1 hour, this station dies. The communication ended. Tarak gave the order to evacuate. Escape pods launched from the station, carrying the survivors away. The humans let them go. They did not fire a single shot at the fleeing Dreven. Exactly 1 hour later, the station exploded. 300 years of Dreven military power, gone in a flash of light. Across the galaxy, other species watched the battle recordings in shock. The humans had won. Not just won, but dominated. The greatest military power in the sector had been crushed in a single afternoon. And this was only the beginning. Admiral Nathan Cole looked at the wreckage of the station and felt no joy. This was not a victory to celebrate. This was justice being served. And there was still so much more to do. All ships, he ordered. Set course for the next target. We are just getting started. The fleet moved on. The war continued. And somewhere in the ruins of the station, the Dreven finally understood what they had done. They had not killed a weak species. They had awakened a sleeping monster. And now that monster was coming for them. The human advance through Dreven space was something the galaxy had never seen before. It was not like other wars. The humans did not take territory. They did not occupy planets. They did not enslave populations or steal resources. They simply destroyed everything that could be used as a weapon. Every military base. Every weapons factory. Every shipyard. Every warship. Every orbital platform. Every missile silo. Everything that the Dreven had built over 10,000 years of conquest was being torn apart. Piece by piece. Admiral Nathan Cole commanded the fleet from the Avalon. He spent most of his time studying maps and planning the next attack. He slept only a few hours each night. He ate when his officers forced him to. All of his attention was focused on one goal, making sure the Dreven could never hurt anyone again. Another victory, sir, reported Commander Lisa Monroe. The fleet at Baranek has been destroyed. All military installations on the planet are gone. Nathan nodded without looking up from his maps. Casualties? 43 ships damaged. 7 destroyed. 2,316 crew members lost. Nathan closed his eyes for a moment. Every death hurt. Every lost ship was a tragedy. But he could not stop. Not now. Not after what the Dreven had done. Send the names to the memorial committee, he said. They will be remembered. Yes, sir. Also, we are receiving messages from the Galactic Council again. Nathan finally looked up. What do they want now? Lisa handed him a datapad. They are demanding that we stop our advance. The Dreven have filed a formal complaint. They are calling this an unprovoked war of aggression. For a moment, Nathan just stared at the message. Then he laughed. It was not a happy sound. Unprovoked, he said. They killed 12 million of our people. They burned children in their schools. And they say we are unprovoked. The council is threatening sanctions, sir. They say that if we do not stop, they will cut off all trade with human space. Nathan put down the datapad. He walked to the large window that looked out at the stars. Behind him, he could see a small part of the fleet. Thousands of ships, all following him into enemy territory. Let them threaten, he said. We do not need their trade. We do not need their approval. We need justice. And we are going to get it. The fleet moved on. World after world fell. The Dreven had never experienced anything like this. For 10,000 years, they had been the hunters. Now they were the prey. High Commander Vorath sat in his command center on Dreven Prime and watched the reports come in. His face was pale. His hands were shaking. He had been so sure that the humans would be easy to defeat. He had been so wrong. The Third Fleet has been destroyed, an officer reported. The Fifth Fleet has retreated. The Eighth Fleet is surrounded. How is this possible? Vorath demanded. We have been fighting wars for 10,000 years. These humans are children. No one answered him. There was nothing to say. On the human side, the war continued. Captain Daniel Harris led the Retribution through battle after battle. His crew became experts at fighting the Dreven. They learned the enemy's tactics. They found weaknesses in their shields. They developed new strategies that spread through the entire fleet. But the war was not without cost. Lieutenant Commander Grace Taylor was wounded in a battle near a Dreven supply base. A piece of debris had cut through the bridge and hit her. She survived, but she would never walk again. Daniel visited her in the medical bay. She was lying in bed, her legs covered by a blanket. Her face was tired but calm. The doctors say I can still serve, Grace said. Just not on the front lines. They want to transfer me to a command position on Earth. Is that what you want? Daniel asked. Grace was quiet for a moment. I want to be here when we finish this. I want to see the Dreven pay for what they did. But I understand that I am more useful at home now. Daniel took her hand. You have done enough. More than enough. Go home. Help coordinate the war from there. And when we win, I will make sure you are at the victory celebration. Grace smiled. It was a tired smile, but a real one. You had better win, Captain. I will be very angry if you lose after I gave my legs for this. The ship transferred her to a medical vessel the next day. Daniel watched her go and felt the weight of command press down on him. Every day, more of his people were hurt or killed. Every day, the cost of the war grew higher, but they could not stop. Not now. Lieutenant Amy Patterson continued to lead her fighter squadron. She had become one of the best pilots in the fleet. Her kill count was higher than almost anyone else. But she took no pleasure in it. One night, after a particularly bloody battle, she sat alone in her quarters and looked at a picture of her brother's family. Lily and Marcus smiled at her from the image. They had no idea what was coming when that picture was taken. They had just been happy children. I am doing this for you, Amy whispered to the picture. Every ship I destroy, every base I burn, it is all for you. I hope you know that. Wherever you are, I hope you know. She put the picture away and went to sleep. The next morning, she was back in her fighter, ready to fight again. The war went on for weeks, then months. The Dreven Empire, which had seemed so powerful, began to collapse. Their colonies begged for peace. Their allies abandoned them. Their economy fell apart as their trade routes were destroyed. And still humans came. Admiral Nathan Cole received messages from across the galaxy. Some species sent support and supplies. Others sent warnings. The Galactic Council continued to threaten sanctions. But none of it mattered. We are approaching the final phase, Lisa Monroe reported one day. Our scouts have reached the edge of the Dreven home system. Their last major fleet is gathering to defend their capital. Nathan looked at the tactical display. The Dreven had gathered everything they had left. 3,000 warships. Their most experienced commanders. Their most powerful weapons. It was their last stand. How many ships do we have? Nathan asked. 287,000 combat-ready vessels, sir. We lost some in the campaign, but reinforcements continue to arrive from human space. Nathan nodded slowly. The numbers were still overwhelming, but the Dreven would fight hard for their home world. This would be the bloodiest battle yet. Send a message to all ships, he ordered. Tell them that we are entering the final stage of the war. Tell them that soon this will all be over. And tell them to remember why we came here. Tell them to remember Meridian 7, the fleet prepared for the final battle. 300,000 ships moved toward Dreven Prime. The greatest fleet in the history of the galaxy was about to face its greatest challenge. And somewhere on that distant world, 30 billion Dreven citizens looked up at their sky and waited. They knew the humans were coming. They knew that nothing could stop them. And they wondered if this was how the people of Meridian 7 had felt in their last moments. The war was almost over, but the hardest part was still to come. Dreven Prime was beautiful. It had blue oceans and green continents. White clouds moved slowly across its surface. From space, it looked peaceful and alive. 30 billion people lived on that world. They had families and homes and dreams. They were not so different from the people who had lived on Meridian-7. Admiral Nathan Cole stood on the bridge of the Avalon and looked down at the planet. The human fleet surrounded the entire world. 287,000 ships formed a ring of metal and fire around the Dreven home world. Every weapon was ready. Every crew was waiting for orders. The final Dreven fleet had tried to stop them. 3,000 warships had fought for 16 hours. Now those ships were wreckage floating in space. The last defense of the Dreven Empire was gone. Sir, said Commander Lisa Monroe, the Dreven High Council is sending a message. They want to surrender. Nathan said nothing for a long moment. He just kept looking at the planet below. He thought about Meridian 7. He thought about the 12 million people who had died there. He thought about the children in their schools and the families in their homes. Put them on screen, he finally said that the image changed. High Commander Vorath appeared before him. The Dreven leader looked old and broken. His eyes were empty. His proud posture was gone. Admiral Cole, Vorath said. His voice was weak. We accept your terms. We surrender unconditionally. We ask only that you spare our civilians. They had no part in the attack on your colony. Nathan looked at the alien who had ordered the death of 12 million innocent people. He felt anger burning inside him. He felt the weight of every life that had been lost in this war. He felt the cold temptation to give the order that would end the Dreven species forever. His hand moved toward the communication button. One word from him would unleash the full power of the human fleet. 287,000 ships would rain fire on the planet below. 30 billion lives would end in minutes. It would be the greatest destruction in the history of the galaxy. And it would be justice. An eye for an eye. A world for a world. But then Nathan stopped. He thought about the children on Dreven Prime. They were not guilty. They had not ordered the attack on Meridian 7. They had just been born into a civilization that had done a terrible thing. Just like the children of Meridian 7 had been born into a civilization that had done nothing wrong. He thought about what kind of species humanity wanted to be. Were they destroyers? Were they murderers? Were they the same as the Dreven? Or were they something better? Admiral, Lisa said quietly, the fleet is waiting for your order. Nathan took a deep breath. His hand fell away from the communication button. We are not them, he said. His voice was quiet but firm. That is the point. That has always been the point. He turned to face the screen and the broken Dreven leader. High Commander Vorath, you killed 12 million innocent people. You used weapons that have been banned for 1,000 years. You tried to erase an entire colony from existence. For these crimes, Your military will be destroyed. Your weapons will be dismantled. Your war machine will never threaten anyone again." Vorath bowed his head. "We accept." "But," Nathan continued, "we will not kill your civilians. We will not burn your cities. We will not murder your children. Because we are not like you. We came here for justice, not revenge. And justice means stopping the killing, not adding to it." He paused and his voice became even harder. "Your people will live. Your civilization will continue. But you will remember this day. You will remember that humanity had the power to destroy you completely. And you will remember that we chose not to use it. That is our message to you. That is our message to every species in this galaxy. Harm us, and we will come for you. But we will always be better than those who harm us." The communication ended. Nathan turned away from the screen and walked to the window. The fleet still surrounded Drevin Prime. The weapons were still ready. But they would not fire. Captain Daniel Harris received the orders on the retribution. He read them twice to make sure he understood. "We are not attacking the planet," he told his crew. "We are dismantling their military. We are destroying their weapons. But the civilians will not be harmed." Lieutenant Commander Mike Santos, who had taken Grace Taylor's place, looked confused. "Sir, after what they did to Meridian 7, are we really going to let them live?" Daniel thought about the question for a long time. "Yes," he said finally, "because that is what makes us human. We do not kill innocents. We do not murder children. We do not become the monsters we are fighting. If we did those things, then the Drevin would have won. They would have turned us into something ugly. And I will not let that happen." The crew was quiet, but slowly they nodded. They understood. Lieutenant Amy Patterson flew her fighter over Drevin Prime. She looked down at the cities below. She saw lights and roads and buildings. She saw a world full of life. Her finger was on the trigger. She could fire her weapons and add to the destruction. She could take revenge for her brother and his family, but she did not. "Lily," she whispered. "Marcus, I hope you would be proud of me. I hope you would understand why I'm not killing these people. I hope you know that being human means being better than those who hurt us." She turned her fighter away from the planet and flew back to the fleet. The war ended 3 days later. Every Drevin military base was destroyed. Every warship was dismantled. Every weapon was taken apart. The Drevin hegemony, which had terrorized the galaxy for 10,000 years, was no longer a military power, but its people still lived. Its cities still stood. Its children still played in their streets. The human fleet withdrew from Drevin space. 300,000 ships returned to their homes and ports and families. The war was over. On the ruins of Meridian 7, they built a memorial. It took 10 years to complete. When it was finished, it was the largest monument in human history. 12 million names were carved into walls of black stone. Every person who had died was remembered. Admiral Nathan Cole spoke at the dedication ceremony. He was old now, his hair white and his face lined with age. But his voice was still strong. "We came here to remember," he said. "We came here to honor the lives that were lost. 12 million of our brothers and sisters died on this world. They were killed by those who thought we were weak. They were killed by those who thought we would do nothing." He looked out at the crowd. Thousands of people had come to the ceremony. Many of them were survivors, family members who had lost loved ones, soldiers who had fought in the war. "We proved them wrong," Nathan continued. "We gathered 300,000 ships. We crossed the stars. We destroyed the greatest military power in the galaxy. And then, when we had the chance to become destroyers ourselves, we chose to be better." He pointed to the memorial behind him. "This is what we fight for. Not revenge. Not power. Not conquest. We fight to protect our people. We fight to make sure that nothing like this ever happens again. And we fight to prove that humanity is worthy of the stars." He paused and his voice became soft. "Rest now, all of you. Your names are written in stone. Your sacrifice will never be forgotten. And your species, the species you gave your lives for, will carry on. We will grow stronger. We will spread further. And we will always remember what you taught us." He raised his hand in salute. "We remember. We answered. We endured. And we will never forget." The crowd was silent. Then, slowly, they raised their hands as well. Thousands of voices spoke the words together. "We remember. We answered. We endured." The ceremony ended. The people went home. But the memorial remained. And on quiet nights, when the stars shone down on the black stone walls, visitors would swear they could hear the voices of the dead, not crying. Not angry, just grateful. Grateful that they were remembered. Grateful that their deaths had meant something. Grateful that humanity had answered the call. And somewhere in the galaxy, on 100 different worlds, other species looked at humanity with new eyes. They saw a young species that wrote poetry and dreamed of peace. But they also saw a species that would cross the stars to protect its own. A species that would not start wars, but would finish them. A species that was better than the darkness it faced. The humans had sent their message. And the galaxy would never forget it. The end.